meet in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss personnel and internal board procedures. Before we continue, it's become my habit to mention losses to the Exeter family. We did have another staff member die. Mr. David Smith was a 14-year veteran of the transportation section, both as a driver and in any other areas where he was needed. Unfortunately, he was shoveling snow last week and had a fatal heart attack. So we extend our sincere sympathy to Mr. Smith's family, and he will be missed. So, Mrs. Cook, welcome.
Good evening. Just an update about what is going on at the elementary level and at Owaton. I first touched on our professional development, and of course, you know, we're working on our new math program this year. We have been doing walkthroughs together, and we have had 2 board members request to be a part of that. So if you would like to do that, you're certainly welcome to do so, and can contact me to do that. We'd be happy to have you. We are working with the reading literacy coach on different areas. Tomorrow actually is our next session with her. The whole staff will be there for more on text-dependent analysis. And down in number 5, I have there about some other things that I was going to present last Friday. So I'll be rescheduling those 2 items, positive classroom management and the Noble Ag presentation, which will have our students working with this organization as part of the state, where they come around with this big tractor trailer thing, and the kids go in for a period and they work within that space during their time slot. And so they'll be learning about gardening and growing things and that kind of thing. That's the week of April 22nd. So that's about it for professional development. I wanted to just draw your attention to our mini grants down there at the bottom with the APT. Our fundraisers weren't as successful as some years in the past. However, our APT was still able to award $450 for Dana Wirtz and Erica Moyer to do community-based instruction with their special needs students. And so what that means is they go bowling once a month, and that's been very successful. And next month, I think they're going to be in competition. I'm going to compete with them. So they're getting excited about that, for sure. Let's see. We bought math storage things for our first grade teachers. I believe 3 or 4 of them received some shelving for that. I want to draw your attention to the kindergarten-based math reading materials, which are APT purchase books for every teacher in kindergarten to align with the instruction in the curriculum. Owaton Creek placed 3rd in Berks County for a Reader's Win. Mrs. Bittler coordinated that with the Berks Literacy Council. We raised $3,456.52, and apparently Schuylkill Valley got the big headlines in the newspaper, but we were right there with them. And we have 5 challenge students participating in the Connects competition under the supervision of Mrs. Walker. And while we were doing our math walkthroughs last week, Mrs. Walker had some of her gifted kids present to us a research kind of data thing that they did with, they gathered data and made a hypothesis and predicted what the outcome would be. It was pretty impressive. So it's pretty cool. But I'll share that at a curriculum committee of the board meeting. And we appreciate that the Exeter Community Education Foundation has given us, or will be giving us 10 iPads. We're going to use them in conjunction with our reading and intervention students as well as our gifted students. We continue to have Science Explorers. The new session starts this week, and it's called Art Explosion. So that should be pretty exciting. We're continuing to have Girls on the Run after school. This semester it's supervised by Diana Ritchie. The librarian is conducting our One Book, One School. That is actually this week. So everybody in the school is reading the same book. And I didn't write down the name of it, so, but this is about the third or fourth year that we've done that. And of course, the Battle of the Books is coming up on May 11th. That's a competition between students at all three buildings. And I believe maybe Mrs. Kutcher was there before. It is pretty exciting, and the kids do enjoy that competition. One of the things that has come out of our work with Julie Klein and the pre-kindergarten workshop that was held a couple weeks ago, and then working with our kindergarten teachers, is that we would like to get together and have a parent workshop designed for pre-kindergarten parents in each building, so that they would know the expectations for their students' performance as they come to kindergarten, because it really has changed, and we want to make sure they're aware of that. Well, I'm saving the last but not least kind of thing here. I have Mrs. Bainbridge here tonight to talk with you about Echo Kids and show you some of the things that our green team is doing. Mrs. Bainbridge has worked with this group and stays after school to help do Echo Kids, and they're going to share some art projects that they've been working on. And then you can ask me questions later. So Mrs. Bainbridge, come on up, please.
We have a wonderful new after-school program for our students at Awatin Creek. It's Eco Kids Club, and we've started meeting in January and February, and for an hour and 15 minutes we do crafts having to do with recyclable items, and these are some of the things we did. We made some bottle cap flag murals, and out of toilet paper and paper towel rolls we made some wonderful snowflakes in January. And in February, we used plastic water bottles to make some fish and also some flowers. Oh, you're showing.
I'm showing while you're helping.
Okay. And we've been getting huge numbers of kids. We've had to extend it into 2 sessions per month. We have anywhere from 60 to 80 kids involved, and they're loving it. And then these wonderful moms, Janelle Barker and Betsy Halliday, are just having wonderful leaders, and along with doing the crafts, they're also presenting lots of wonderful ideas about how we can keep our country, our world green. So they're going to talk to you about some of the upcoming things.
And during each Eco Kids Club session, we do a individual craft, which would be like these fish. And I don't get their fish made out of water bottles. And then we do a community project, and that's where all the kids work together on to doing one project. And we made a whole bunch of flags, and actually today we would like to present you with one of our flags.
Yeah?
So you can read it here. And with our club, we started last year, and we thought we have such a wonderful green building. So how can we, as the inhabitants of this building and the users of this building, be more green, and try to have the children get involved and get their families involved? And so, you know, we've sort of started small. Last year we had a eco fair for and invited families and friends, and we thank you, Mr. DePino was there, and Mrs. Gordon was there, so that was fun. And this year we're going to do that again.
On April the 24th, so you're welcome to come. There will be several things going on where we're having the Baronological Club coming to speak with us about birds and the ecology of birds. We'll have making a bird feeder out of like a plastic reused item for the families to take home. We'll have a project where we're turning plastic into flowers, which I have an example right there where the kids are actually taking plastic bottles, painting them, and then they split it open to become artwork. Yeah, it's not finished. That's still work on it. So there'll be lots of green things going on. They're actually are bringing in some classrooms that are participating. They did a couple of times last year. Mrs. Jukina participated with her classroom, and Mr. Deigler did. But this year, even more teachers are coming together to participate, where the whole second grade is actually learning about pollinators. And they're going to put on a play with the lead of Mrs. Jukina. We're putting in a pollinator garden, possibly. We're meeting with master gardeners next week. And so the first graders are learning about endangered species and presenting their books that they will make. And kindergarten is learning about trees and going to present a project on trees. So it's becoming somewhat like a science fair atmosphere. So that's
And we are working to make it low cost for all of us and for all the families. It's free for the children to come to the Eco Club. And one way that we're doing that is we collect juice boxes at our lunch periods. And we've been doing that since 2012. And we've collected almost 50,000 juice pouches just from the lunch room. And that has given us $1,200, about 3 cents a piece. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to fund that. So incredible. So,
Well, they beer cans.
I don't know. I don't know if this code would allow that. So anyway, so that's what we're doing.
And that's what the Green Team and the Eco Kids are about.
Thank you for our support. We thank Mrs. Cook and of course Mrs. Bainbridge and Mr. Pitts for supporting our activities and helping us bring everything ahead. And we're
Baby steps, but we're making big
We
steps.
thank you for your time and efforts. Are there any questions for the ladies or Mrs. Cook?
I do have a question. When do you meet with the kids?
We've done Tuesday afternoons right after school. Our next one is going to be March 17th and then March 24th. And so that's right after school. They bring their snack and then we break them into groups and do our.
And then the parents pick them up?
Yes, 5:15. And it's great.
And how many children did you say you service?
It's been about an average of 60 to 80 children.
Total. Because that's why we had to split into, we thought we would just do it once a month, but then that first month we had 60 kids, so we quickly realized that we would have to break into 2. So yeah, and that's we haven't even done our 3rd month. Like she said, it's next week will be our 3rd time. So they're really responding well. It's been so positive. The parents have just thanked us. The kids are enjoying it. And, we hope to do more than just art. This is we're just going with that because this is, we have Miss Banger's help, but, maybe a garden club, Mrs. Jupina, or,
Yeah, we should
well,
get
who
that garden
knows?
club at our house.
Garden club at the house, and, yeah, so.
Save my back. But I do want to.
You don't have to water plastic.
First of all, I do appreciate what you're doing. I know at our hospital, we've made a big move. We have a green team there. And, those things always really work when you start at a grassroots level, from the bottom up. And so it's great that it's really not an administration or a board initiative, but that you guys have taken it and have run with it, and you're teaching kids at such a young age that, there is hope for the planet, so to speak. So I really applaud your efforts. The other thing, we had a curriculum committee just right prior to this meeting, and I'm big on trying to figure out how we monetize this stuff. You could turn those things into items that could be sold.
Come to our auction on April the 24th.
Congratulations.
I love when somebody steps right into it.
I just have a couple of comments about the flag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one is that I hope they were all high sugary drinks in this bottle can. And then the second is I have to point this out because I'm a former American history teacher. There really is only 7 stripes on that flag.
We know. We told the kids to use what did Miss Bainbridge call artistic?
License.
Oh, right,
Yes.
there you go.
How many stores will it?
At least they're kind of straight. Our goal is to get them straight.
We thank you for the flag, and I'm sure the superintendent can find someplace in the boardroom to post it for a while. Or put it up for a while.
Well, thank you for supporting us. It's been fun, and I think it really can go somewhere if we keep it up.
Now,
Can you
here
get a
I have
reminder
mo-
about the 24th and the
Yes.
times for us, because some of us forget stuff. that-
Yes, definitely.
If old guys like Chapina.
Yeah? Well, he'll be there, but yeah. Yes.
This is a heads up. I just saw this on television and I thought, oh my word, because every elementary school teacher and kid plays with the cardboard and the toilet rolls. And Scott has just come out with one with a roll that has no roll
Right.
out. That's probably the most environmentally friendly thing they've done. And it is interesting. But you might point it out to the kids simply because they can look at it and say, see, you can actually change something and make it better. So, and I thought, I was really amazed when I saw that. Plus it's saving the children's dollars.
Hopefully this momentum, yeah, we have many facts that we share with the kids on our kids club, but yeah, I mean, we hope to make the inside of Oahu Creek just as green as the structure of the building. I mean, that's our vision, is to hopefully head that way. So maybe we would use those toilet paper rolls within the school. Who knows?
And I just wanted to mention that we have a strong group of parents who help. And Kayla Kaufman, Jamie Montanaro, Mandy Miller, Lisa Clavel, and then there's Marcy Strauss filled in there too. So it's great that we have a nice group of
A
people.
nice core group of parents that are really, you know, are working well together and we're making things happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, well done.
Take that. That's
Yes, please go.
Mrs. Wolf, 3 questions for you.
Great.
3 questions. First, could you describe for me what is Girls on the Run?
I could describe that for you.
No, this is Mrs. Cook's question. You're not a girl. She is a girl.
Actually, I was one of the first sponsors of that event in Berks County.
I still haven't gotten my response.
Well, she's volunteering the answer as well. It's a program that was started in Berks County to help girls build character and self-esteem. And so it's about an hour and a half a week. And, yeah, and then they go to a competition and compete.
What grade is
Okay.
it for? What grade?
Oh, it's just 3rd and 4th. She's just telling me everything. We can ask her.
Great, I'll just answer you.
Her daughter did it. Yeah, so.
Okay, what is a manipulative storage for math for 1st grade? What is manipulative?
Shelf put their math.
Why couldn't you just say shelves? Manipulative.
Well, it was a little.
You wanna know what manipulative
It was on wheels.
I feel very manipulated. Anyway, do you have a chiropractor or something? 3rd question.
This is always a
last.
comedy routine, in case you didn't know that.
3rd and last question for you, and this is more serious. During our first forum meeting we had when parents showed up, there was a discussion about the level of homework and involvement by parents. Have you found that on the new math program that the parents have become more comfortable with it, or are you still feeling they have challenges dealing with questions that come home with their students, or any kind of feedback from parents lately?
I don't think there has been a great deal of negative feedback at Watton. We send home the handbooks that the kids can use with their parents. Their parents can look at them to help them. And we have really not had any difficulty at this point. It's been pretty positive.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to come see the kids in action. They're pretty impressive. They enjoy it. They do.
Just a quick comment about that. I did get to go on a walkthrough with Mrs. Cook, and it really is very impressive to see what these kids are doing. and she was talking about this gifted group that had presented to us while I was in the building, and amazing. They're like third graders, and all of their data is on Excel spreadsheets, and it's like, yeah, and you know, and pie charts and bar graphs, and it really was quite amazing, actually.
Dr. Bender, you had a question?
How's the building doing with the new, phys ed equipment that was received last year from COVID?
Oh, we're fine. We use it for health and phys ed classes, mostly for 3rd and 4th grade. And so Mr. Beisiger and Mrs. Bogus, schedule that in with, their weekly schedule. And sometimes the kids use it at recess. Again, 3rd and 4th grade, we had like 2 months of indoor recess, so that was a challenge, but yeah.
Thanks.
Is this the same equipment from the governor's photo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all that perspective, right, Russ?
It certainly is.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mrs. Cook, with a serious question. Not that the others weren't, but we're going to be shortly having a discussion about the transportation center, and I'm just curious as to if there are any concerns either from the parents or from you regarding the fact that we're looking at using a portion of that property to put 80 buses there and have a lot more vehicle traffic coming in and out of that location. I was just wondering, I know it's probably not a comfortable question for me to ask you, but you're there every single day. And I was just wondering if you had any concerns or anything that we should be looking out for or addressing as part of that.
Well, actually, I have our first APT meeting since you guys deliberated that final process, so I'll be talking to them tomorrow about that. I haven't heard any feedback from parents otherwise. I don't think they're really aware of it yet too much. But actually, I did talk to Mr. Pitts a while ago and say, if you can't build on that side of the property, perhaps you might want to consider our other fields. So it's okay with me.
Okay, thank you. You guys have any concerns?
We have another.
Moms? And I was asking the mothers if they were aware of this at all.
I think it's needed. I think we do need it. We do need the new bus center. I do think that's needed, so I don't think it's a concern. Not a Long Creek.
But I agree that I think lots of parents aren't aware of the discussion. I would think, to my knowledge, and I won't have anybody really talking about it in my circle.
If you do talk with the APT, make sure they understand the bus area will be fenced off, so it's not a situation where students will easily be able to run into that area.
I think I was more concerned about just the vehicle traffic.
They're kind of separate, not as much as
Mrs. Kutcher, you have a question?
I thought maybe it was like the construction entrance, the original construction entrance,
Yes.
so that's pretty far. Yeah.
I just had a question about the pre-kindergarten parent workshop. Is that another one in addition to the one that we had a couple weeks ago?
Yes, we thought, in discussion with kindergarten teachers and Mrs. Klein, we thought it might be beneficial to have one at each building, just so that parents, even parents who have kids like in 4th grade, things have changed that much that we want to make sure everybody is aware of the kindergarten curriculum and what the expectations are when their kids are coming to school.
Okay, so when are you going to start that, then, do you know?
May?
Okay, all right. Well, I just enjoyed the kindergarten class that they did for the parents, and so maybe I'll just pop in and see this one too.
Okay, well.
I'm curious to see.
Mrs. Kutcher, the reason that we're doing that is I followed up with, if you remember Melissa Murphy, who's one of our kindergarten teachers from Owaton Creek. I met with the kindergarten teachers from that building this past week. I was part of a data team meeting. And because of that being new last year, Don, that forum was new with the parents, and we had so many parents attend. We thought we'd have a better attendance this year, as you know. I don't know if it's because of the weather or what it is, but the teachers are really feeling, with the amount of information that's shared, that Heidi and I are able to share with parents during that time, And with the change in expectation, as you said yourself as a board member, wow, I think you should share this with our board members, what is expected of our kindergartners by the time they leave. We really feel it's best served to do that type of thing rather than as a big district forum within the building. And probably after the screenings happen, because all of our parents come to those screenings, and it's really all of the parents that we want to come and we want to educate. So it might be best, even though it means I have to do it 3 times and Heidi has to do it 3 times, I think we would have a better audience. And I think it's a very important audience as people are first coming into our school system, their child and the parents. So we felt that strongly about it, that we're going to try to carry it off in all 3 buildings now.
Thank you for the explanation. I agree. I appreciate the fact that you thought about that. That's right. It is different.
We thank the Awatin team for the briefing.
I just have a question, what was the enrollment like that you had enrollment for kindergarten already?
It's about the same as it has been for the last 2 years. At this point, we're about 80, and then we'll get more kids, over the summer.
You don't ever have it at night though. I mean, I think it's kind of a little inconvenient for both parents that work, isn't it? That it's just like during the day, isn't it?
Yes, but, the staff, there's at least, 6 or 7 staff members that are there working with the kids while I'm meeting with the parents, so it would be
a problem probably
yes.
for an evening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. If you'd like someone from the board or possibly from facilities there at the APT meeting, let me know.
Okay.
I neglected to offer anyone else in the gallery who would like to address the board the opportunity. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? Thank you then. We'll move along with the workshop. Next week we will have 2 sets of minutes to approve. They're provided, and unless anyone has any comments right now, we'll institute changes all changes next week. We'll also be doing the second reading of the changes to the graduation requirements. Does anyone have any comments that came up over the past month on those? And we'll move on to Dr. Tamura, business functions.
Under number 6, business functions, next week we're going to be voting on A, it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the schematic site plan design and cost estimate for a new transportation center to be constructed on the district property located adjacent to the Awatin Creek Elementary School. The schematic design construction cost estimate is $3,395,000, and that is under attachment 6A. Under 6B, it is going to be recommended, I'm sorry.
Can we, a couple questions, and I have a question and some comments. Ian, were you able to give us any of these proposals or thoughts about financing the project?
Here, I'll hand this out. It's just a quick summary because besides the estimate for construction, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that there are the architect's fees, which we had approved well over a year ago. In addition to, we will absorb permitting, etc. So the cost may be around, and I don't have solid numbers on permitting. That's all up in the air, but these are just guesstimates. Could be 3.6 million. So there's different ways that this could be funded. We did issue $2.5 million of new money in 2014. And we also, which in my mind, if we do move forward, that's available now, and we could use that. Of course, that doesn't pay for everything. We also have the opportunity to possibly use some of the interest savings from the refinancings that's being done this year. Of course, that depends on how the year shakes out overall. So if there is additional, with our revenue exceeding, it would make sense to transfer some of that into capital reserve and use some of that cash towards it. Funds that remain from the Awatin project, which we had to use to finish that site, but is in litigation, that may come back, but as Mr. Malsney told us, there's no guarantee that we're going to see that when we need it, which would be probably around the first quarter of 2016 when we'll have significant cash outflow. We don't know how much of that we'll get back either. We also have general fund balance commitments for capital, and we have a capital reserve fund. If you flip the page over, so those are the different things that are available. But we have other small capital projects which we use the capital reserve or for, through 2021, $7 million. But that's assuming that our roof projects, 4 of them will be restorations. If we do full replacement, you add $3 million onto that. So, we're juggling different things. But as I said earlier, we start with the $2.5 million. If we're able to use some of the cash from the refinancings, and that's just the year 1 savings, I really think we should do that. But we're going to have to juggle the different projects. If we get to a point, the end of 2015, when we, or right after we bid, if we get to that point to bid it, and we're seeing that we would want to borrow, an opportunity for borrowing, I know that's not anyone's first choice to issue more debt, but just to give you an idea, a $3.6 million issue, this was from PFM, Jamie Schlesinger, you could do either a wrap or a 20-year level at current rates, and it would add about between $107,000 to $230,000. $107,000 would be the wrap to your local effort per year. And if we had any concerns about, when I brought up the other meeting, tax exempt versus taxable in the future, we decide to privatize, maybe going with the bank loan would make more sense, because then you don't have to deal with bond issue, defeasing or reissuing. Whereas in a bank note, you write it into the note that you can recalculate the tax rate. The taxable rate is about 1% higher than a tax exempt. So, there's many ways we could address this, but we have a lot to address in terms of the district's budget. But again, starting with the $2.5 million, and if we're committed to this, then using some cash, and really evaluating our other projects, because we did have a conversation recently about, and I don't want to go too in different tangents, but some of our buildings need major renovation. So looking at the roof at Lorraine, which is one of the 4 roofs listed here, do we do that now, or do we wait for a major renovation? So we have to juggle projects. Did I answer your question?
And more? I'm going to make a couple comments here. Probably won't make me very popular tomorrow, but based on what I've read recently, I'm not very popular right now anyhow, so I'll live with it. I'm going to support this, and I wrestled with it. I think putting 1 penny into the other facility just is ridiculous. That place has lost its useful economic life. We're talking about replacing, eventually the gas pumps need replaced, the gas tanks need to be replaced. To get that place up and running, you're probably looking at a minimum of $750,000, minimum. And then you're going to have ongoing yearly costs, just like you would with any home that's older. I mean, the bottom line is you're going to be putting money into that. We already have $2.5 million borrowed that is already in the budget. It's not anything additional, plus what we've already saved or what we have in our reserves. We can do this without borrowing an additional penny. We do not have to borrow an additional penny. Also, too, the money that is sitting in the Awatin Creek litigation, we should be getting that money back, period. It's a bonding company. I cannot believe they're fighting it the way they are, but they are. I would be very surprised if we do not get it. I'm sure they'll try to cram it down, but we should be getting a good portion of that. A couple other things though, so I'm going to go off on a tangent. If you haven't read the Exeter Informant, I recommend you do. For the most part, it's a very, very good site. It's on Facebook, and it's a site. There's a lot of good things about the township. Unfortunately, there's some things on there that are not true. One, I will say for the record, I am not getting kickbacks. I have not received a kickback. I am not on the tape. So for the folks that are writing those types of things, if you look up in the dictionary what libel is, that is exactly what that is. So I do take offense to that. You can call me an idiot, you can call me a moron, I can live with that. But some of those other things, I know I've talked to another couple people, and that does bother me a little bit. There's also the board spend. Well, again, I reviewed the numbers in the last 5 budgets, the last 5. We have raised taxes 26.5% of what we could have. That's basically 1 out of $4. It's not perfect. Yes, we may spend a couple bucks more than we should, but the bottom line is this board has tried its best to not spend money where possible. So I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I think it did need to be said. There's a lot of good information floating around out there, but there's also a lot of misinformation. So when you hear some of the things said to you, I think there's also a point in time where we have to sit up and say enough. So I just said enough.
Excellent.
Under 6B, it's going to be recommended that the Board of School Directors authorize the expenditures of the Berks Career and Technology Center's general program for the period July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016. The school district's proportionate share of the cost for the fiscal year 15-16 will be $1,366,000, $1.366471 million. The district share for the fiscal year 13-14 is $1,363,434. The cost includes tuition payments for
I think that's a typo in the date, so.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry. The cost includes tuition payments for regular and special needs students and debt service payments. The district's proportionate share of the BCTC budget for regular education students is 9.189%, based on a 3-year enrollment average of 136 students. The special needs proportionate share is 6.78%, based on the current enrollment of 8 students. Again, that's attachment 6B.
Any comments or questions?
Under 6C, it is going to be recommended that the Board of School Directors accept the Exeter Township School District Tax Collector audit prepared by Renzel Kuntz Lesher LLP for the period ending 12/31/2013. Those attachments are in 6C1 and 6C2.
Questions, comments?
And then finally, it's going to be recommended that the Board of School Directors approves budget transfers for the month of February 2015 in the amount of $22,074.90. And that is attachment 6D.
Thank you, Dr. Any questions, comments for Dr.
Or maybe out of place, but we're listing these attachments. Have we agreed to go paperless? I mean, I realize we're getting them now, we'll get them next week.
Yes, I spoke to Bob today about putting something on the next agenda, and Ann as well, putting something on the next agenda to purchase some software, board docs, that was previewed to us a couple of weeks ago that would allow us to do that. It's going to take a little bit of time, Tim, to get everything in place, but over the next few months that should happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morrow. Dr. Bender, personnel.
Part A, we have retirements. Number 1, certificated staff with Deborah Lambden, and number 2, support staff Barry Shearer. Part B are resignations, so certificated staff, support staff, and extracurricular staff. Part C, appointments. We have certificated staff, junior high school computer applications, long-term substitute teacher, Mr. Palmer. Number 2, substitute teachers, both certified, certificated, and guest teachers. And number 3 is support staff. Part D are change of status for support staff. And Part E is staff conferences. Any questions for personnel? That completes personnel.
Thank you, Dr. Bender. Mrs. Kutcher, student functions.
I remain planning field trips in the 60-mile radius. And is Mr. Kane still here?
Yep.
Yes.
Do you know how our kids did on this senior high quiz bowl? I think it was today.
It was actually yesterday. I have not seen Mr. Wickstrom to get an update yet.
That's
They were,
fine. I was going
would you-
to send a note then.
second?
What?
Ms. McFarland said they got second.
Oh, nice.
And our Science Olympiad team was at Kutztown today. I was trying to find the results online, but they haven't posted them yet.
Thank you. Item B, the following field trips will be approving the following field trips that are beyond the 60-mile radius. So the math students are going for a competition, and senior high is going to Senator Schwenk's Model Senate, in which everybody, junior high is going to the Mountain Middle School for Kid Win, or Kid Win Challenge. And that's it for that. You know, we did have a student forum discussion at the high school, and the day that we were to meet was a snow day. So March the 23rd or the 24th, and it's one way or the other, is that it?
Either one will
Either
work.
one. So we just have to decide if it'll be a Monday or a Tuesday.
Monday's Monday.
Monday? Seems Monday's it.
Okay.
6:30?
Okay, 23.
Yep, at the LGI. And that's all the news. It's pretty.
Thank you, Mrs. Kutcher. Any comments, questions for student functions? Mr. Diesinger, curriculum.
Are the books?
Yes.
Yes, they are. They're sitting over there on that table.
Thank you. You know, it's reported that the following proposed textbooks for purchase for the 2015-2016 school term will be available for review for 30 days in the administration building, and we have verified that literature grade 9 and literature grade 10, both published by Holt McDougall, are on the table to the side here. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask about that? Since these were published prior to Common Core standards, pardon me?
Is that what it should be?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Common Core standards were started in 2010, and the publishers were working along with the Common Core committee to align these with the Common Core requirements.
Thank you.
They're specifically cited as aligning to the Common Core.
I'll ask the word comes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other matters to be brought before the board?
Yes, I'd like to talk about some legislation. I had read where I don't know if it's the Senate or the House, I think it's the Senate, they're proposing a charter school law that would give the state the authorizer of charter schools. Now, I think this is a very, very dangerous move on their part, and they want to also pack the board that proposes these initiatives with charter school advocates. So I would hope that, the public would be well aware of this. We know how much money is being taken from the public schools. I think it's almost approaching $1 billion a year with the brick and mortar charter schools and the cyber schools. And as we know from past reports, there is no cyber school, and most of our children go to cyber schools here that decide to opt out of our school. None of them are performing anywhere near the benchmarks. I think we put that out, in the newsletter and everything else. So I think we need to contact our legislators to make sure that they are not on board with this legislation. Also tomorrow night, there's going to be at 5:30, there's going to be a meeting with Representative Gillen. I got an invitation to stand up for what we the people want, and and especially in the area of public education. And Representative Gillen is on the education committee. So those are some things that I'm very concerned about as a public school advocate. And I think people that send their children to public schools need to be very much aware of these issues. I don't know, Diane Ravage is a very pro-public advocate of public education. She is a researcher. She had been on board with charter schools until she checked the research and realized what a fraud they could be. But I happen to note, and this is amazing. There was an advertisement on her blog, and it said bonds and blackboards, investing in charter schools. And it was last night in New York City from 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And guess who were the two foundations that were there? The richest person in the United States and the richest family, the Waltons and Belinda and Mr. Bill Gates. So they might give a few bucks to public schools, but for the most part, they're all about privatizing public education. So that's my spiel, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments, things? Yes, ma'am.
Budget meetings, business function, do you have any preference for how we want to conduct them? Or because the governor prepared his budget a month later, presented it, until we make sense of the numbers, usually it's later in the month of March when we do the first presentation. I'm not sure how you wanted to work it this year. And your schedule's really tight. Talk to tomorrow.
I think it would be something.
Anytime, yeah. I mean, whatever works for everyone.
We do, Mr. Brady, is there going to be a facility committee meeting on the April 1st? First Wednesday? I think you had mentioned it. There might be the first Wednesday in April. Right, there was nothing really.
We'll have that on the calendar. When do you think we'll need to meet with the architect and or the engineering and to discuss the bus project as well?
I'll have to talk to them. I mean, would the board be, or the business function committee be interested in meeting anytime during the week of March 23rd to start the process, and then follow up in May at workshop and voting meetings to present to the public? You're not?
No, I think you just have to schedule accordingly, and if I can be here, I'll be here.
Okay.
That's I can't promise anything at this stage.
The 24th is a Tuesday night.
Right.
And I think we should note that business function is open to the public as well.
That's correct. And it is budget, so please come.
Yeah. It also should be noted that the GOP leadership of both the Pennsylvania House and Senate has promised that this budget is dead on arrival. So, should be interesting.
Well, you know, I think that that's what we need to do. We need to have the citizens, the citizens voted for change in November when they voted for Governor Wolf. So I think the citizens who care about what's going on need to contact their legislators and say, you know what? Public education is important here in this Commonwealth. You need to support it. Not that we need to keep on, like I saw Mr. Maloney had a thing about, you need to cut things. Well, when he did pass the trash thing, did he realize the cost that that's going to be every 3 years for people to get 3 different certifications that they're not predators over their life of their over the lifetime of their career?
I think the exhortation for the citizens to contact the legislature is good, but I think we've got round that one out on the business committee, and if you'll work it out with Dr. Tamura.
Okay.
We'll pick a date that works for the majority of
Right,
us.
and so that everyone's not too many meetings in 1 week.
Exactly.
Any other matters?
Always, when you get a audited financial statement and you are on a board, you want to read the footnotes, you want to read the letter. In particular, there's some discussion of deficiencies in internal control on tax collection. I know that that's not a big issue because of the percentage, but it is something just that we ought to be aware of, that the auditor has brought these to our attention as a board.
And that's not a new deficiency.
Well, if it's not a new deficiency, then we ought to be leaning into that. Because there's one thing that I read that bothers me just a little bit.
You want to tell us what page that is, Tim?
Yeah, it's on page 2 of the Rensselaer 2015, February 20th. At December 31st, 2013, the tax collector's checking account had funds totaling $6,903 in excess of the amount reported. It is believed that the unidentified funds resulted from duplicate tax payments. Again, it's just interesting that $7,000 in unaccounted for money. Yeah, that's page 2.
Thank you.
It's not just for our protection, but it's also for Chuck Allen's protection. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. There's no further business. Yes, we adjourn.